And I think for a lot of the viewers out there, they probably are most familiar with your work via the collaboration with Humberto Ramos.
Right,
Um,
yeah.
how exactly do you get to the point where it becomes clear that your work complements this person's work? I think for a lot of viewers, they understand when an editor is involved, and an editor
Right.
puts you with someone, that's one thing. But to kind of organically stumble upon the fact that my colors go well with this guy's pencils, or my colors work well with this person's inks.
I
How,
mean,
how
I'm
does
not.
that how does that come about? Hey, what's up, everybody? Sketch Guy here, and welcome back to the Fandamn Collectibles YouTube channel. Today, we have a very special guest, colorist extraordinaire, Edgar Delgado. Mr. Delgado, thank you. And how's it going?
Hi, thanks. I'm happy to be here.
All right. And of course, I had joining me Phil the Thrill. Phil, welcome back.
I appreciate you letting me come back.
Okay, so of course we're gonna get to know Mr. Delgado a bit better and really get a sense of his approach to comic book art. So to really get things started, Mr. Delgado, if you could talk to us a little bit about your comic book origin story. What really attracted you to comics, and how did you end up discovering that this would be a career for you?
Well, I've ever since I was a kid, I was doing comic books one way or another. Either at at the back of the books in my school, or filling like notebooks with drawings, or I mean, not just drawings, stories. Whatever. I created characters and started to like make up their, because I always, for some reason, I always wanted to do comic books. I mean, I used to watch movies and see cartoons on TV, but the comic books, for some reason, it was like the thing that attracted me. Uh, you know, I was attracted more to that, maybe because I was. Uh, it seemed like the easier way to do. Like, I mean, you wanted to do a story, you could either like write it, or or if you're like, if you know how to make cartoons, animation or movies, you could make a movie, you could make a cartoon. But I always thought that maybe, uh, of all those things, visually to tell a story, comic books was like the easier way to do it. I'm talking about, I mean, I was, when I came to this realization, I was like 12 years old, I guess. So because I wasn't gonna do a movie at 12 years, or animation. It was
Got it.
as I was really I was really a really ambitious kid, I guess. But yeah, okay, I want to do like a story. I'll do a comic book, and that's how it all started. Really, I couldn't wait to get out of school just to publish my own stuff, and that happened at 18. I came up with a character called Ultra Duck. Maybe you've seen it, and that was the first thing I published, actually. And it was just straight out of school. I published a self published comic book in Mexico. And it was about that character, and that's where everything took off, because the character became like mildly popular, locally, and I started doing shows, and I started meeting people. I met a lot of other artists that work, in Mexican industry, and a lot of them started working for the United States. One of them was Humberto Ramos, and that's how we met, actually, like doing shows. He wasn't working for the States in those days, but since we were friends, we were like, you know, uh, making the same steps. Me as a self publisher, and him as an artist. So that's how it all started, really.
And I think for a lot of the viewers out there, they probably are most familiar with your work via the collaboration with Humberto Ramos.
Right. Yeah.
How exactly do you get to the point where it becomes clear that your work complements this person's work? I think for a lot of viewers, they understand when an editor is involved, and an editor
Right.
puts you with someone, that's one thing. But to kind of organically stumble upon the fact that my colors go well with this guy's pencils, or my colors work well with this person's inks.
Man,
How does that come about?
I don't really know, because like I told you, we all started like at the same time, so we've never really stopped, working. Not just with him. I mean, I've been working with other artists from Mexico. The other one was Francisco Herrera, who used to do some stuff for Marvel, and now he's doing toys, uh, and other Mexican artists. But we all knew each other, so it wasn't like a conscious decision that, okay, my work goes well with Humberto. It's just that it has never really stopped. Uh, doing. I've never really stopped doing stuff with him, because I remember the first thing we did together was like the cover for the second issue of my book, the Ultra Dark book, and now that was in the, I don't know, maybe 95, 94, because I was doing shows, bringing my copy of Ultra Doc. And when we met, the first thing I told him was, "Oh, you should do the cover for the second book, because you're a great artist." And he was like, "Yeah, sure, let's do it." So he did the cover for that book. I might have it around here, uh, and I colored that. And that was the first thing we did together. And then he started working for DC. I started like I kept polishing my own books. Then eventually I started working for the States as a colorist, and it was like logic, because he was doing in those days he was doing Crimson for Wildstorm, and then he knew that I was working as a colorist, and for his next project, it was called Out There for Wildstorm also. And he called me and said, "Why don't you call? Why don't you? You're a colorist, right?" Yeah, I'm doing that now. Why don't you color my book? I don't know. Okay, let's do it. I mean, he was like, because we're always like, uh, you know that a Mexican is working on the industry, and you're like, "Hey man, where are you from?" "Oh, I'm from that place." "Oh, let's work together." It's more like, why are we not supporting each other? So that what happened with Humberto. It was like, "You're a colorist. I need a colorist for this book. Let's do it." It wasn't like I said, like a conscious decision of your work complements mine. It was just like, we're Mexicans, you know. Let's do it.
And so organically, once Umberto got that break with DC, you guys stayed in touch. And
Right? Yeah.
as soon as he had an opportunity, he offered that to you, and you kind of ran with it.
Yeah, that's what happened. And also the other thing is that we work easy together, because we're from the same background. It's more like, we know the shortcuts. He does something on his work. I know what he wants to, because I know what he likes, because we all like the same things growing up. So it's more like, I don't he doesn't really have to tell me what he wants, because he knows, oh, Edgar likes the same things as I did growing up. So it was like, you remember that show that oh yeah, that one on TV, yeah, okay, let's do that here, sure. And that's how it comes about.
So you guys, there's like an unspoken language and understanding that's just made it very easy to work together.
Yeah, and that language is Spanish.
So a spoken language.
Yeah.
But it's just
but I
made
mean,
it easy.
it's cultural thing. It's a cultural thing also. It's we speak the same language. We're from the same country. We grew up with the same stuff. It's like, yeah, like you said, it's an unspoken language.
Understood. Okay, so once you guys started working for Wildstorm, what were some of those early titles that viewers may recall, but maybe didn't notice or realize, oh, that was an early Edgar Delgado, Humberto Ramos collaboration?
Yeah, the first thing we did for the States regularly was that book I told you was called Out There. He is the second thing he did after Crimson. Crimson ended, and Wildstorm offered him, because you know how Wildstorm had this imprint called Cliffhanger,
Yes.
where Humberto and Joe Madureira and Scott Campbell were publishing stuff.
Right.
And Humberto was offered a second book. He could create whatever he wanted, and he wanted to do like this group of teenagers solving mysteries with a supernatural element. And that's the first thing we did. That book ran for like 18, 20 issues, I think. And after that, he got called straight to Marvel, to do covers for Spider-Man, for Spectacular Spider-Man. And I started doing that because he was like, let's the call was like this. The Out There ended, and he got the call from Marvel, because Marvel knew that Humberto always wanted to work regularly on Spider-Man. So it was in these days that Joe Quesada started. He was put in charge of Marvel, and Quesada and Humberto were friends for a very long time. So he got once Marvel knew that Humberto was free, they offered him, like, you want to do something with Spider-Man? And Humberto was like, well, of course. So they offered him the covers and then an option to start working on the book regularly. And Humberto called me, and he said, I'm going to work for Marvel and Spider-Man. And I'm like, that's perfect, man. Congratulations. Yeah, thanks. Do you want to color that? And I'm like, of course I want to. So okay. So you're in. And that was it.
I gotta say, I think for a lot of fans, the Spider-Man run is probably when you were on their radar. How long did you and Humberto work on a Spider-Man title? And as a matter of fact, you two, are they currently on a Spider-Man book?
Yeah, we're doing a new one called Spectacular Spider-Man, which is Miles and Peter, like teaming up. I think the last one was issue 7. That's the most recent one. And yeah, we've been doing that. We've been doing something for Spider-Man ever since that call.
That's what I was gonna say. I mean, it's almost like 2 decades of Spider-Man work here.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I've been doing something with Spider-Man for 20 years, more than 20 years. Yeah.
So 20 years as a colorist on Spider-Man book. What has that really meant to you in terms of, I guess, not only validating your choice to go into comics, because I'm sure that's part of it. Like, hey, I chose right.
Right.
This is for me. But, you mentioned being like how important it was for you as a Mexican man to, really connect with another professional who thought the same way. And, fast forward, there are so many Mexican artists of note, people who have broken through. When you go back to Mexico, I mean, like, how do people receive you and really, I guess, celebrate the fact that there is this Mexican collaboration on Spider-Man that's gone on for 2 decades.
It's a lot of fun. I mean, I think it's the work that I'm most proud of, and also that Spider-Man was growing up was like my favorite character. I always had two characters that I always wanted to work with. One was Spider-Man, and the other one was Batman. That's because everybody in Mexico loves Batman. It's like, the national hero. And but I work a bit with not with Batman, but I work on Nightwing for a bit, because I've also worked for DC for a while. So that was okay. I already done some stuff with Batman, but Spider-Man has been like I made it. When that happened, it was like, oh, everything I've worked on all my life, culminated with when I got like recognized for Spider-Man, because to answer your question, in Mexico, Humberto and I are seen like as like a classic Spider-Man team. Also with Victor Olazaba, who does the inks.
Right.
So it's all three of us, like the Spider-Man team. They see us like that, and it's pretty surreal because I don't see myself like that. But we've been working for so long on that book, on that character, that people here in Mexico is like, oh, the Spider-Man guys. So it's flattering, it's fun, but it's a bit weird also.
I could definitely understand that. It's just even how I responded a couple of minutes ago, where I was like, wait a second, you're still on a Spider-Man book. To me, it's just I've kind of just taken it for granted, because
right.
Like, this team has been together for so long. I mean, I think about the initial announcement, and I remember it first becoming a thing, because I had followed some of the work that was done at DC,
Right.
particularly like Impulse and some
Right,
of the
yeah.
milestone titles. So I remember the move from DC over to Marvel, and now I say to myself, like, hey, if I go back issue digging and I look in the bin, if I see Ramos, Delgado, Olazaba, like, I don't even think twice about it. It's you produce so many comics over those 20 years. But I can imagine that for a lot of the folks back in Mexico, this maybe took what was already a real fan base, people who love comics, love Spider-Man, and kind of taking it to another level, knowing that there's a team that represents Mexico in professional comics.
Right, and the other thing is, the other thing that I'm very proud of is that when we do shows in Mexico, or I do shows in Mexico, and get a lot of kids who grew up, like knowing that they can do the same. I mean, they can also work on comic books. They can work on cartoons, animation, even movies, because there are so many of us now that proved that you don't, especially now with the internet and everything, that your location does not limit you. The place where you were born is not exactly a limitation like in the old days, because in the old days you had to travel to get seen. Nowadays you can like post stuff online, and it's your talent that rises, that makes you like get seen. So I guess you could say we inspired a lot of kids in Mexico to do the same, and that's the other thing I'm proud of. Like, if my work gets like whenever time passes, and I could say I left something, at least what I'm most proud is like maybe I left some inspiration for somebody else to say, okay, I want to be like that guy. And that's what the thing that I most like, how do you say that, I wish that was my legacy. That's what I'm trying to say. Like the inspiration that I could say. I could give to other kids and say, "Hey, I did it. You can do it too. You can live of this.
And make a mark. You like
Yeah,
I said,
I mean, make
2 decades on
yeah,
Spider-Man.
right. I mean, they have the opportunity to make your own mark. If we did it, you can do it.
Hey you, yeah. Hey you. Thank you for checking out the Fandamn Collectibles YouTube channel. If you like this content, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe and stay tuned because we'll be back before you know it.